It's 2 a.m. You get up for a glass of water. The house is dark. You know this house. Every floorboard, every corner, every piece of furniture. You've lived here for years. There is nothing in this house that wasn't here when you went to sleep. And yet something happens as you move through the darkness, something quiet and involuntary. Your pace changes, your breathing shifts. Some part of your attention that was completely offline 2 minutes ago comes online and begins scanning for movement, for sound, for anything that breaks the pattern of the dark. You reach the kitchen, pour the water, drink it, and on the way back in the hallway, for one brief moment, the darkness at the end of it looks like it might contain something. It doesn't. You know it doesn't. And yet the scan continues until you're back in bed with the light off and your eyes have adjusted enough to confirm that nothing is there. You are not afraid of the dark. You are afraid of what cognitive evolution taught your brain to expect in the dark. And the difference between those two things is the difference between a phobia and a survival system, between something broken and something that has been working correctly for 300,000 years. Humans are not, by the standards of the animal kingdom, well equipped for darkness. Our visual system requires light to function effectively. We have far fewer rod cells than genuinely nocturnal animals, and our night vision is poor by almost any comparative measure. A cat can navigate effectively in light levels 1/6 of what humans require. An owl can see clearly in near total darkness. A leopard, one of the primary predators of early humans across Africa, hunts most effectively at night when its night vision advantage is at its maximum and its prey is at its minimum. For early humans on the African savanna, darkness was not neutral. It was the period of maximum vulnerability, the period when the balance of sensory advantage shifted decisively toward the things that ate you, the period when being wrong about what was in the dark had the highest possible cost. The fear of darkness, nyctophobia in its clinical form, but the milder version in almost everyone, is not a malfunction of the threat detection system. It is the threat detection system doing exactly what it was built to do in the environment it was built for. The amygdala, scanning for threats in low information conditions, responds to darkness the way it responds to any situation in which threat is possible but not confirmable, with elevated arousal, heightened sensory attention, and a readiness to respond that feels from the inside exactly like low-grade fear. This response doesn't require a specific threat to be present. It requires only the absence of enough visual information to rule one out. In the dark, you cannot confirm safety, and a nervous system that evolved in an environment where darkness meant danger defaults, in the absence of confirmation, to caution. Here is what cognitive evolution specifically added to this ancient system. The amygdala's threat response is not new. Versions of it exist in every vertebrate with a nervous system complex enough to detect and respond to danger. What cognitive evolution added was imagination, the ability to generate detailed, specific representations of what the darkness might contain, not a vague sense of threat, but a specific, vivid mental image of the worst possible thing, a predator, an intruder, something moving at the edge of vision. This capacity, the generation of specific imagined threats rather than vague threat signals, is the product of the same cognitive machinery that produces planning, fiction, and theory of mind. It is the predictive brain running threat simulations in low information environments, generating specific possibilities rather than simply raising general alarm. This is why children's fear of the dark is almost universally populated with specific imagined entities. Monsters under the bed, shapes in the closet, things behind the door. The child's brain, equipped with the full imaginative capacity of cognitive evolution, but without enough experience to calibrate the threat model against reality, generates maximally threatening possibilities and responds to them as if they were real. Adults do this too, in the dark, at 2 a.m. The process is just faster, more automatic, and more quickly overridden by contextual information. The hallway looks like it might contain something. The cognitive layer that knows it doesn't activate within seconds, but But the imagined threat appears first because the imaginative threat generation system is faster than the contextual evaluation system. It was designed to be. False alarms are cheap. Missing something real is not. The darkness fear also has a specifically social dimension that gets overlooked. For most of human history, darkness was navigated collectively rather than individually. Hunter-gatherer groups slept together, maintained fires through the night, and organized night watches in environments where nocturnal predation was a genuine risk. The fear of darkness in this context functioned partly as a social cohesion mechanism, keeping group members close, discouraging individual nighttime wandering, maintaining the proximity that made collective defense possible. A human who felt no fear in the dark, wandering away from the group at night to investigate a sound alone, was a human at dramatically elevated risk of not returning. The fear that kept people near the fire and near each other was, in the most direct sense, the fear that kept them alive. This explains something about the social texture of darkness, fear that purely individual threat detection accounts miss. Darkness is significantly less frightening in the company of others. Not because others can reliably protect you from whatever is in the dark. A friend doesn't give you better night vision, but because the social threat regulation system, which uses the presence of calm, unalarmed others as a signal that the environment is safe, is activated by company in a way it cannot be activated by solitude. Other people calm the amygdala not by eliminating the threat, but by providing the social confirmation that no one else is alarmed, which in a group that evolved to collectively monitor its environment is a meaningful data point. When you're alone in the dark, no such confirmation is available. The nervous system, deprived of social safety signals as well as visual ones, runs hotter, which is why the dark at the end of the hallway feels different at 2 a.m. when you're alone than it does when someone else is in the house. Modern life has made genuine nocturnal predation essentially non-existent for most people in developed countries. The leopards are gone. The darkness contains nothing that wasn't there in the light, and yet the system runs because the system doesn't know the leopards are gone. It knows that darkness has historically been the period of maximum danger, that visual information is limited, and that limited visual information means threats cannot be ruled out. It knows these things not as explicit beliefs, but as architectural features, built in, running automatically, not requiring your conscious cooperation to activate. You are not irrational for feeling something in the dark that you don't feel in the light. You are running a threat detection system calibrated for an environment where that difference mattered enormously. In a world that has changed faster than the system can track, the darkness at the end of the hallway is safe. Your brain knows this, and it keeps scanning anyway. Because for 300,000 years, the cost of assuming safety in the dark was sometimes everything, and the system that kept your ancestors alive long enough to become your ancestors was never going to let a little thing like electric light convince it to stop. The leopards are gone. The scan continues because some systems, once built, don't stop running just because the thing they were built for has disappeared. They just keep watching the dark, waiting for something that isn't coming anymore, doing the only thing they were ever designed to do,